Hey everyone. Have you ever found yourself in a relationship that was more of a maze than a partnership? One where you question your strength, your worth, and sometimes your own reality? Well, today we're going to talk about how we heal ourselves after a narcissistic relationship. Today we're not just going to explore those dark corners of navigating a narcissistic relationship, but we're also going to look at that bright, beautiful path back to our highest and greatest self. So if you're ready to turn your wounds into wisdom and your pain into power, you're in the right place. To anybody who's never been here before, hi, I'm Elizabeth Blackwell from Blissful Home and Body, and I've spent well over the last decade of my life so that I can help others set sacred space and get to their highest and greatest point. So let's get started. So today I'm going to talk about 10 behaviors that narcissists often use to manipulate others. But we're also going to talk about the ways that we can heal ourselves, both emotionally and spiritually, from those behaviors. So the first behavior that a narcissist will often use is gaslighting. This is where they manipulate their reality and yours to get you to question your own thoughts, memories, sometimes your own sanity. And the point of this is to get you reliant upon them for what the truth is, so that they can manipulate it in order to get you to behave in a specific way. So how do you heal after gaslighting behavior? Well, the best way is to rebuild trust in yourself. Know who your authentic self is. And one of the really good ways that I recommend doing this is by keeping a journal. This way, whether you are continuing to navigate this relationship or it is something of your past, you're able to go back and validate what your truth is instead of relying upon somebody else to tell you what the truth is or was at a point in time during an interaction. The second narcissistic behavior is love bombing. This is where an individual will shower you with almost excessive attention, affection, compliments, sometimes even gifts. And what this does is it gives us a dopamine rush and gets us to intensely bond to this individual. And then sometimes they will withdraw that attention or affection in order to control your behavior and get you to crave them and the attention that they once gave you. There's kind of two ways that we should heal after love bombing. First is to understand genuine affection and be able to differentiate the difference between that and manipulation. And then the second part is to strengthen your own self-worth. That way, we don't look to external things in order to give us that attention and affection. But we know that we have everything that we need internally and how much value we truly bring to this world. The third narcissistic behavior I've heard described as triangulation. Really, that's just a fancy way of introducing a third party, whether they are real or fabricated. And the point of this is to spark jealousy and insecurity in order to keep you more off balanced and attached to them, fearing what you may lose. Healing after this behavior really comes down to understanding the behavior for what it really is, which is knowing that it had nothing to do with you really, and that it wasn't a comparison ever, but it was being used as a manipulation tactic in order to keep you off balance or potentially get you jealous so that you are afraid of what you would potentially lose. But stepping forward, this is a really good one to know where your boundaries are and to be open with those boundaries, saying what you will and will not allow in your future. The fourth narcissistic behavior is projection. This is where an individual will accuse someone else of that original person's bad behavior. This a lot of times can come forth in accusing of infidelity or selfishness, when in reality, it is the first person that is having that negative behavior. Healing after projection behavior is really kind of twofold again. First and foremost, you have to detach from what their behavior was or is, realizing that it really has nothing to do with you or how you are behaving. And if you're having a difficult time with that, seek an outside opinion or perspective. This could be an outside friend, family member, therapist, but somebody that you can talk through what their behavior was, as well as how you reacted. So again, you can realize that it had nothing to do with you or how you were behaving. The fifth one is a doozy, but commonly used, which is isolation, which is kind of self-explanatory. But this is where somebody will isolate you from outside friends, family, any outside relationships, so that they can keep you in that bubble of what the reality that they are building is. And in order to heal, either during or after this type of behavior, you need to reconnect with your old relationships and foster new ones as well. The sixth aspect of narcissistic behavior is to create a cycle of abuse. And just as a personal note here, I hate the word abuse. I absolutely loathe it, because where there is the word abuse implies that there is a victim there, and nobody wants to see themselves as a victim, except for maybe a narcissist. But what this behavior entails is a cycle of idealizing a person to then devalue the person and then to abandon the person, to start that cycle all over again, constantly keeping somebody in a state of confusion and hopelessness, never knowing where they stand in the relationship. And the way that you heal yourself, both emotionally and spiritually, after this type of abuse, again, I hate that word, is to understand the cycle and then break the cycle. At the very minimum, removing your energy and your emotion from it, if not yourself entirely. The seventh behavior is threats and ultimatums. This is where a person will threaten to leave, harm themselves, or potentially expose the other person if that individual doesn't go along with their wishes and behaviors. If you are in the middle of this sort of behavior, work to have some sort of outside safety plan, whether that is outside individuals or potentially organizations, but have something that you can fall back on in case you need it. If you're working to heal yourself after this sort of behavior, this is where you work to empower yourself again, working on your independence and self-sufficiency so that you will never be in that situation again. The eighth behavior that can be used by a narcissist in order to manipulate you is withholding. This is where somebody withholds affection, connection, communication, or sometimes physical or financial needs by means of either punishment or control in order to get you to behave in a specific way in order to get those needs met. Learning to heal from this one is never easy because, and I am not oversimplifying it, I absolutely know that at times we need to get the needs of either ourselves or a family met. But when it comes to this, one of the habits that you want to boost within yourself is being open and expressive with what your needs are so that it doesn't ever feel like it's hidden or not put out there. And then secondary, unfortunately, part of this is always going to be fostering your own independence, knowing that you do not necessarily need outside connection or attention. And when it comes to more physical or financial needs, figuring out ways to take that individual out of the equation so that you can meet those needs yourself. The 9th behavior is constant criticism. And this one is usually shadowed under the guise of, I'm just being honest, or I'm trying to help you. But with this one, it's really a manipulative behavior in order to erode your self-esteem so that you look to that outside person in order to get something out of them that you feel like you need. Healing after this one is again twofold. One, you need to rebuild your own self-image, being in that sincere and authentic self so that you know exactly how amazing you are. And then 2, look to positive outside reinforcement. Interact with individuals that help to rebuild that image of yourself so you know that bright, beautiful being and all that you bring to this world. And the 10th behavior, which is certainly not the last of them or all of them, but all we're going to cover for today, is to play the victim. This is where an individual will try to gain sympathy in order to detract from their own bad behavior. This can a lot of times guilt trip the opposite person into wanting to try to fix the relationship by changing the non-narcissist's behavior in order to not have them feel like a victim or that they've been wronged in some way. And how you heal from this is if you are still in this sort of behavior, you need to establish some emotional distance so you can see when they're playing the victim role. And if you're healing after this sort of behavior, this is again where you need to work on your boundaries so that you cannot allow a person to go to that emotional victimhood in order to manipulate or change your behavior. I deeply hope that this video has allowed you to understand some of the more narcissistic or abusive behaviors that individuals can have and some things in order to help you work on healing, both emotionally and spiritually, as you rebuild yourself into that bright, beautiful being that I know you are. So with that, I will say I am sending you all so much light and love, and I hope you all stay well, my friends.